You ever have one of those days where you walk into a federal courthouse thinking it's just going to be you, your folder of evidence, and some overworked judge, and then, right as you're laying out the case, your phone buzzes with a security alert that makes your blood run cold? Yeah, that happened. There I was, sitting across from District Judge Jamie, laying out proof of HOA corruption when I glanced at my phone and saw it a live security feed of Brenda Thornwick, our HOA president, forcing her way into my lake cabin. And as the sound of splintering wood echoed through my phone's speaker, Judge Jamie just leaned in and asked, "Is that happening right now?" Brenda, bless her heart, had no idea she was starring in her own federal crime drama, being watched by a judge and surrounded by undercover agents. It's like karma took up filmmaking. Now let me back up a sec, because you probably think I'm making this up. But what would you do if your HOA president broke into your place while you were building a federal case against them? I mean, really drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from, because I bet a few of you have gone a couple rounds with an HOA tyrant in your day. Name's Marcus Kelly. 6 months ago, I thought I'd found a slice of heaven. After 30 years as a telecom engineer, plus a couple patents that paid off nicely, I retired early to restore my granddad's old lake cabin up in Pine Lake, Montana. This place had been in my family since 1967. Weathered cedar walls, hand-built stone fireplace, and a dock reaching into water so clear you could count trout 20 feet down. My wife Sarah loved the idea of turning it into a retreat for veterans, and our daughter Emma instantly called dibs on the loft overlooking the lake. I swear mornings there tasted better coffee wood smoke, the calls of loons. Felt like the universe finally handed me some peace. Then I met Brenda Thornwick. You ever meet someone and just know, deep in your bones, they're going to be a problem? That was Brenda. HOA president, ran the local real estate office, always with a white SUV so clean it could have rolled straight out of the showroom. She wielded a leather folder like a weapon, and her perfume smelled expensive, but somehow made the pine trees smell fake by comparison. "Welcome to Pine Lake," she said, but the tone was more like, "Don't get too comfortable." That should have been the first clue. 3 weeks later, I get a thick, certified letter, looked like it cost more to send than what was inside, slapping me with a $1 $500 fine for unauthorized structure modifications. The violation, my granddad's dock extension built in '72 when Richard Nixon was still president, and the HOA didn't even exist. I called Brenda, got treated to the sound of her nails tapping on a desk, and heard her explain that recent satellite imaging showed I was in violation. The best part, the HOA wasn't even formed until 1985. I had every piece of evidence, building permits, surveys, photos of my dad and me fishing on that dock. Figured that would settle things right. Wrong. Next HOA meeting, I come in loaded for Bear Docs photos, permits, the whole nine. The place smelled like burnt coffee and floor wax, with about 15 neighbors pretending they weren't scared. I laid out the proof, but Brenda barely glanced. She just said grandfathered structures require annual compliance fees, $500 a month for historical maintenance assessment, $6,000 a year for a legal doc. It was then I started noticing the pattern. Whispered conversations died when Brenda looked around. Afterward, this sweet old lady, Gladys, pulled me aside and mentioned other military families had the same trouble. So I did some digging. 3 veteran families had been fined into selling their homes in the past 2 years. And guess who sold the properties? Brenda's own real estate company. Yeah, follow the money, right? Let me tell you when an HOA starts discovering violations only on properties owned by folks with certain backgrounds. That's not bureaucracy. That's discrimination, and against veterans. That's a federal crime waiting to happen. 2 weeks later, Brenda showed up at my door with a guy named Dale, supposedly a county inspector, but he smelled more like stale cigarettes and nervous sweat than authority. His inspector badge hung sideways, and his shirt looked older than my cabin. They wandered around, finding fault with everything: my perfectly legal GFCI outlets, my granddad's fire pit, which, by the way, is just a ring of rocks, not a nuclear reactor. $1, $500 for electrical noncompliance, per $1,000 $200 for the fire pit, another $1, $500 for waterfront safety, plus $300 a month for monitoring. I was up to $200 with more fees snowballing every month. That night I couldn't sleep, so I researched. Turns out all building inspectors in Montana have to be state certified. You can look them up online. And guess what? Dale didn't exist, but Dale Morrison, real estate agent for Thornwick Properties. He sure did. See, people trying to screw you always get sloppy. From then on, every interaction with Brenda happened by email. I filed a state complaint about the fake inspector, but Brenda just stepped up the pressure. Anonymous noise complaints started rolling in about work I was doing between 9 and 5, perfectly legal. New parking restrictions popped up overnight, always making my life harder. So I got smart installed security cameras all over driveway dock, even the spots where Brenda liked to patrol. The first week of footage was like Christmas morning. There she was, 11 at night, measuring my dock while Dale held a flashlight. But it wasn't just my place. They were sneaking around at other veterans' homes too. One midnight, Brenda got caught on audio saying these military types always crack under sustained pressure. A few more violations and he'll sell below market value. The diesel smell from her SUV lingered in my driveway, but now it just smelled like evidence. Armed with all this, I thought I had her. But Brenda doubled down, sent me a lawyer letter from some fly-by-night firm in Helena demanding nearly $8,000 in fines or they'd lien my property. Something felt off. The law firm's website looked like it was built with a potato. So I drove to the county courthouse, dug through decades of dusty files, and discovered Brenda's so-called rules were passed by barely a majority with votes that should have required 75% approval. Most folks never even knew about the amendments. I started contacting the families Brenda had forced out. Pete Michaels, a Desert Storm vet, told me they hit him with bogus fines until he had to sell for $180,000. Brenda's company flipped it 3 months later for $320,000. See the playbook? Target a veteran, create violations, bleed 'em dry, buy low, sell high. That's when things turned ugly. My mailbox got spray painted with troublemaker and blood red. Anonymous notes saying military types don't belong appeared on my windshield. Emma started asking to move back to town, and Sarah flinched every time a car door slammed. Our sanctuary turned into a war zone. Then someone tried to break into the cabin. Security footage caught Brenda's SUV lurking as someone scratched up my back door. She knew my routines down to the minute. This wasn't business. It was personal. But here's the twist. All this harassment caught the eye of someone way above Brenda's pay grade. 3 days later, she called an emergency HOA meeting, loaded the deck with her loyalists, and tried to push through a foreclosure vote on me right in the middle of a workday when nobody could attend. But I'd recorded everything, her saying military people bring down neighborhoods. Once we clear out the Kellys and Martinez family, we can market this as an upscale community. I kept calm, let her finish, and quietly told the room, discrimination against veterans is a federal crime, and everything you said today is now on the record. Brenda went pale but tried to call my bluff. Turns out the little old lady next door, Gladys, had been watching out for me the whole time. She slipped me a phone number. It belonged to Judge William Jamie, her son-in-law, who'd been building a federal case against HOA discrimination for months. When I met him, he showed me maps, subpoenas, everything, 23 HOAs across 3 states, all running the same scam. But they needed one more thing, a witness willing to wear a wire. That'd be me. From there, it turned into a full-blown sting operation. FBI fitted my shirt with a mic, installed hidden cameras around the cabin, even had financial crimes agents tracing Brenda's shell companies. Vietnam vets, Korea vets, everyone had quietly been collecting evidence. Brenda and Dale had no clue. Federal prosecutors watched as Brenda's crew sabotaged our power. And Water ran smear campaigns on Facebook, warned contractors not to work with me. Each move documented, each charge stacking up. Then came the big one. Federal wiretaps caught Brenda plotting to plant fake evidence and justify my emergency removal. On the day she made her move, federal agents hid around my cabin. Cameras caught Dale breaking in, Brenda directing the whole thing, them planning forged documents, fake drug paraphernalia, anything to make me look unstable. As they finished, FBI swarmed in and arrested them. Judge Jamie watched live as they put the cuffs on Brenda. That was just the beginning. Brenda's phone led to dozens of other HOAs, shell companies, fake inspectors, millions in laundered profits. Dale cracked within hours, sang like a canary. The federal press conference was wild news vans, lined up reporters shouting questions, prosecutors calling it the biggest civil rights case in HOA history. Brenda got 18 years, $2.8 million in restitution. Dale got 3 and a ticket to witness protection. The families forced out, got full compensation, and Pine Lake voted me in as HOA president. Yeah, the troublemaker himself. Now, our bylaws are transparent. Every meeting is streamed, and we award scholarships to military kids who faced housing discrimination anywhere in America. My granddad's dock is still standing, but now it's surrounded by neighbors who understand what community actually means. The old enemies are gone, and every year we hold a Freedom Day barbecue right where Brenda used to prowl with her clipboard. So what's your worst HOA nightmare? Drop a comment, because you'd be surprised how many laws they might be breaking. Hit subscribe for more stories and ring that bell for next week's episode. Wait till you hear about the city council member who tried to steal a whole neighborhood park. Justice takes time, but it's worth every second.